Well, back here at the broken Axelson, and my high anxiety is settling down a little bit. I don't think it's quite as bad as I first thought. Now, this is the longitudinal clutch here, and it's got a bearing here, and a bearing here, and this is working just fine. You can see the cone, called a cone clutch, and the lever will force that in there against the spring and engage the longitudinal feed. And I'm going to take and clean all this stuff up real clean. Let's get over and look at the problem. Right over here. Here it is. I saved the carnage so you could see it as it's coming apart. I can see that the bearing is broken. Let's have a look. There are pieces. Now, you see, got a busted bearing. This looks like a different bearing here, but I think I can get a number off it. Yep, little pieces of it are broken. Let's see what we got here. Here's the spring that pushes the... And the crunchy things I was feeling is like, I don't know if you can see down in there, there's balls. Here's the balls for this thing. And pieces down in there. So I think once everything is cleaned up here, that here's one of the clutch faces here. Oh, look at this. I saw in a schematic that it looks like this clutch face here is pinned onto the gear with these pins here. But I suspect the clutch might be in good shape if it had new bearings. I don't know. Maybe it's too worn. We'll see if I can, if it'll fit together. If not, it looks like I could machine a new part here. At least I hope so. Maybe if I clean this junk out of there, huh? Let's take that loose. Gotta see how it is. Now I started knocking it apart and it looks like, see, it has the same rear bearing as the other one. So let's see if that'll get the balls and pieces of metal out of there. We'll see if the clutch will engage. It will. The clutch is still good. See, it's still got quite a distance of wear before the two gears are together. So the cone clutch is good. What was hanging up is this broken bearing, and this broken bearing too wasn't helping things. So I'm trying to figure out why it did this. And it could be that the lock washer on the adjuster came loose and it tightened itself up and crushed these bearings. I don't know. Have to look into it a little bit. And I'll get these bearings out and get new bearings and put this thing together. It looks like it's going to be okay to me. Yeah, this is all good. No broken teeth. But if you can see that this cone clutch is replaceable. It's pinned on there. Huh. Yeah, see, the clutches work good. They're good. Just needs new bearings. Okay, I'll be back. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, over here at the apron again. Now, what this is, I thought it was part of the feed kick out, but what it is the feed reverse lever on the apron moves this back and forth for the bevel gear. So that's what that is in there. And also there's a pin right here. Let me see if I can get that. one piece. Here it is. So when you have feed in neutral, which is where that be, it'll let that pin slide into this slot here so you can engage the half nuts. But when you have it in a feed, either direction, you see the pin won't allow the half nuts to function. So that's how that works. Pretty neat. I'll tell you what, it's pretty oily. I'm getting it cleaned up real good. And I'll show you something that I did here. Check this out. Just slides away so nice. Let me take this loose here. We'll have a look at the apron here. So here's the oil pump, and I think we see some oil coming out there. And it comes up this little deal here, goes into there, comes out this hole here, and also fills this galley here. And I got to, I noticed some of these little oilers are half plugged with sludge. And I'll get under here and get all this stuff cleaned up too. You know, get all the oil galleys. And I'll block up the saddle from the rear too. Get it blocked up, and I can get all this stuff cleaned up. So that's the inside the apron there. And I'm gonna take care of all these, check all of these bearing pockets. Now this one here had a broke bearing, and it's kind of chewed up. And I think I found out the reason that bearing broke. And let's go over and have a look at the parts here. Okay, now remember, in the last video, I got this apart. Looks like the center's gonna fall out of that. And we got this busted bearing here. And notice that this is exactly how it was. See how the spring was there? And that spring was against that bearing. Now this is how it should have been. Now this is the longitudinal feed. Okay, see, it's got a different size bearing there, but it works the same. And it had a washer, see? And the spring was this direction instead of this direction, like here. See? It should have been like this and have a washer. Okay. Now, one of the things I noticed with this was the clutch was acting, you know, all messed up. And what was really working the clutch was the junk stuck down in here. You can see how chewed up that is down in there? Then the nose of this is all battered up too. I'm gonna have to put this in the lathe. It's even got a sharp edge that's rolled over, and clean this up and get that bearing out of there. So what looks like it happened to me, and it's possible, is this being against that bearing. That's a double row bearing there, and a very common one. It caused it to fail, you know, caused the cage to, I don't know, whatever. But the one thing I did discover here, looking over this stuff, you can see it here. Now, the last people that got into it used Permatex Formagasket, you know, that black stuff. But sometime before that, someone was into it, and they used blue silicone. And now the bearings, these bearings here are newer than the original bearings on here. As a matter of fact, this is a really old SKF. All the bearings are SKF. This one here has a Swiss number on it. So, and I believe it's original 80-year-old bearing. I'm going to identify that bearing there. I haven't done it yet. But I got this bearing identified, and I got it ordered. I don't know if I can see it here. Can't remember offhand what it was. It is a 5203R. It's an open double row bearing. I found a Fafner new old stock replaced. Oh, once again, that camera decided one to shut off. So anyway, I located the bearings and I got them coming. And in the meantime, I've got to, I'm going to have to make a thrust washer. And also, one of the things that's easily forgotten when you're working on gearboxes, and you know, you can do the bearings and all that stuff, but there's one thing people forget, and that's in play. And I noticed that the adjuster for the crossfeed was almost at the end of adjustment, and the actual clutch faces weren't in contact, just a bunch of broken debris. So I'm going to get these gears in here, and by being able to slide this over, I'll put the front cover on, of course, after I clean that thing up, and get this further cleaned up. And I'll get all the shafts in here, and then I'll go down from the top. I'll put the cover on with the shafts in, and I'm going to check the in play. And I want to know what it is on the longitudinal feed because it works fine. And I guarantee you there's a whole bunch of in play on the cross feed that seems to have been a problem with this. So hopefully I can get all of the problems solved in one shot just by taking time looking at it. But I thought I'd point that out. A lot of people, when they're working on gearboxes, if they don't work on them all the time, it's really easy to forget is in play. And if you have lathes and things like that, you can make all the spacers you need. Yeah. So I noticed that the hand wheel had a bit of in play. So I'm going to take care of all that stuff. Okay, I think I've got a lot to do. And I'll get moving on it. It's been a couple days since I could get on this. I had just so many other pressing things to do. I also have an 80-year-old house here too. It's built the same time as these old machines here. So that's how old stuff is. You got to work on it every now and then. But so far so good. It looks like you know, this is just going to be okay. I will update as it goes. Okay, you guys have a good morning. Bye-bye.